Greetings, it is I, Cantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome! It is time to continue my discussion on the Forgotten CCGs of old, and I'm finishing some more with Spellfire. Only a few more episodes and I'll be finishing up all about the rules in Spellfire. Now let's continue where we left off with talking about some options within spells. Wall spells. A wall spell effectively prevents an attacker from attacking you. Once you play it, you effectively prevent the attacker from doing its things, return to the pool in which it came from, the attack is cancelled. Since the attacker is only basically defeated and not discarded, well then, the defender does not get the spoils of war. Only if it was discarded would it. In this case, the defender is the attacker is just defeated and returned to the pool, everything is fine there. It's important to note that if your attacker has flying or earthwalk, it does not prevent you from being affected by this spell, but it more affects the allies that might be able to play it against you. So you're affected, but not the same way that a land-based champion would be affected. Now, when you're being forced to basically be defeated by this wall, your attacker, the attacking player, gets one chance to play one card, which prevents them from being effectively defeated in this case. One card that they can play. Regardless what it is, one chance in order to continue this battle. If they are still defeated, this does not end the combat though. They can go for another round. They're perfectly allowed to. They have to choose a different champion to send out to attack, but they are perfectly allowed to do that. You just prevented that one champion from attacking you. Now, let's move on and talk about the Wish spell, which is the most powerful spell you can get. It ignores all immunities and abilities to ignore spell effects. So, those go away. You're being affected by the Wish spell, and it can remove a card from the game. It can remove a champion from the game. The important thing to note here is that if a spellcaster casts Wish, should Wish be turned back or turned around somehow, that spellcaster can't use another spell because they've used Wish. You can cast another spell to deal with Wish if you have another spellcaster on your side, preventing your turned back Wish from affecting you. So effectively, I cast it with my one spellcaster, something happens on the other side that now I'm being affected by my own Wish. If I have another spellcaster on my side, I can deal with it. Otherwise, I'm being screwed over by my own Wish, but that's, an entirely another story in this case. Now, there are cards which can cause the instant defeat of other cards. Effectively, it can specifically target another type of card to remove it from the game, to discard it, anything like that. It's a anti-whatever type of card that card is. This would mean a card like this would be an instant win in combat if you're removing a champion, or if you're removing something that would be effectively similar. That's how it would work. Now, the defender against this ability gets one chance to play a card in order to prevent this from occurring. The important thing to note here is you cannot target what is affecting you. Whatever type of card is causing this instant defeat or instant discard, you cannot counter that. You can only change the conditions of that defeat. That's what you can play a card to do, is to change the conditions of it, to make it not something that is able to be targeted then, and therefore removing it that way. You cannot, as I said, target that effect that's hitting you. Also important to know, this one card play only applies to champions and allies. If I'm playing some kind of instant defeat card that instantly gets rid of an artifact, or a magic item, or a realm, or any other type of card, doesn't work. I can't do it then. They just get rid of. They're just gone. Only champions and allies I can protect. Now, certain cards have immunities. They'll say immunity usually to a type of card. Now, this immunity normally will only grant you immunity to the offensive abilities of whatever type of card it is, not the defensive abilities. Effectively, when you get into combat, whether you are attacking or defending, it doesn't matter. You will check out to see if the immunity applies, and then you will remove the numerical bonus or bonus of whatever it's immune to from that combat. You'll disregard that. It will tell you, because there are some cards, especially things like artifacts and magic items, that might have bonuses that are both offensive and defensive, only might get rid of the offensive, wouldn't get rid of the defensive. Normally, under normal circumstances, the defense is unaffected. You're only going to worry about the offensive. It will specifically list under your immunities if defensive abilities are also ignored, are also immune to them. Otherwise, any kind of defensive ability will still apply to that ability, that battle, or that encounter that's going on at this point in time. Now, it's another important thing to note that I've talked about these two types of things, immunities, instant kills, that most events cannot have their effects negated in any way. You cannot do anything about them. The event will list if you can do something about it. So events are going to be an exception to a lot of these rules, and a lot of the getting rid of them instantly or being immune to them. You're still going to have to worry about events. Now let's talk about another type of special ability on cards. Well, 3 of them technically. Flying, swimming, and earthwalking. I briefly mentioned flying. Let's talk about that one. If you have a creature with flying, it can attack any realm, regardless of position and regardless if it's protected or not. It can target any of the realms. Now, for an ally to assist this flyer, it must either have flying or another ability such as swimming or earthwalking that it can compatibly use to go after that same target. This is going to assume, because it's going to be true, that your flying champion does not grant their allies flying ability. That means if I'm flying over a bunch of realms to attack one in the back, towards the bottom of their rows, one that would be very protected, unless I have flying or something else that's appropriate, allies, I can't use it. Now with swimming, this one allows you to also ignore the protection of realms and to attack other ones, but you can only specifically target a realm that has a coastline pictured on it. Not a river, not a pond, it has to be a coastline. If the picture on the realm shows that coastline, I can attack that even if it's all the way in the back position, even if it's very protected, I can target it. Again, just like with the flyer, my allies have to have a similar ability to be able to attack this target. Normally they'd have to be like swimming allies. Now, earthwalking assumes your, whatever it is, your champion, can travel underground. Once again, this is an ability that allows you to target any realm out of the order, out of the positions. You can even go after protected ones. The difference is that some realms might say they're protected against earthwalking. You couldn't target that one. Otherwise, you could just target any realm just like with the flying. Again, if you use any allies with it, they have to have the appropriate ability, either earthwalking or an ability that's compatible with attacking this realm. Coastline if it's swimming, just a flyer with flying. Now it's important because I've mentioned it with flying, but this does apply to all 3 of them. None of them grant their allies their ability. They don't. The allies have to have a compatibility in order to do it. Now it's also important to note that all 3 of them can choose not to use their ability. A flyer can choose not to fly. A major disadvantage is if a realm would be immune to flying, regardless if it's exposed or not. Regardless if the flying creature, flying champion, doesn't need to use flying to attack it, it can't. Just because it has that ability, it can't attack it. This works the same for earthwalking and swimming. If it's got that immunity to that, then regardless if you could attack it without that immunity, you can't use that type of creature on it. It basically just keeps that creature from being used on that realm. The not use of flying is more important for realms that are towards the front, that it might come up for something else. Not preventing the attack, could come up with some other type of card combination. So it is still important to know that you can ignore these abilities. Again, it just does not apply to realms that are immune to champions with that ability. Now that's it for today. I introduced you to some more information on spells, talking about wall spells and wish spells. Then I talked about cards which are sure kills, instant kills, which get rid of some other type of cards. Oftentimes other champions, just getting rid of them from the pool or the board or attacking. But I also talked about champions with immunities or cards with immunities and what an immunity means. Before moving on to the 3 types of special movement, flying, swimming, and earthwalking, and going over the rules of them. In the next episode, I'm going to talk all about events, and I'm going to finish the rules of Spellfire. I'm going to finish them up. And we're going to end talking about the rules and move on to what's next about Spellfire, finishing up the entire thing. So if any questions, comments, anything you would say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Show support for the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you could always check out my Patreon. Link to the description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.